Good afternoon and or good evening to you. I'm Alex Haynes with Black News Alerts.
And I'm Tiffanie Lanelle, also with Black News Alerts.
This is a special report as a verdict has been reached in the murder trial of Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer charged with killing George Floyd. Obviously, emotions are very high right now for our community, so we felt it was very important for us to come with a clear coverage just based on the specifics of the case, what we know right now, what we can expect over the next couple of weeks. While emotions are high and people are wondering what to do next, people are wondering what's going to happen to Chauvin. And while this does not feel like justice because George is still not with us, I think that I'm still in shock. I think this is a day that Black America will never forget. And in that case, probably America. I don't know that America ever will forget this. So if you have not been following the trial, we've been covering the trial end to end here at Black News Alerts, or if you're on our sister network, Boss FM, we've followed this trial and covered it all day and for the last 13 days and up until the last 10 and a half hours that the jury has been deliberating. They came back with a verdict very, very quickly. And typically, while there can be speculation on what happens when a jury returns a verdict quickly, there's no way to predict what 12 different people will feel. And in this case, you needed unanimous agreement and unanimous. You needed just a unanimous consent to get a conviction. And so Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer, has been convicted of 2 charges of murder, both second and third degree murder and second degree manslaughter.
And we bless God, honestly. It's really, I'm glad to see that some form of justice, as you said, this is not full justice because George Floyd still is not with us. On these 3 counts, again, the first being second degree unintentional murder, also referred to as felony murder, that charge can carry a sentence up to 40 years with the recommendation normally between only 12 and 15. The second charge, third degree murder, has a sentence of up to 25 years. And then the third charge being second degree manslaughter with a sentence of up to 10 years. Now, like you said, Alex, we did not know if they were going to return a conviction for all 3 charges. We didn't know if it would be just 1 charge, 2 charges, none at all. We weren't really sure, but it did have to be a unanimous decision regardless of what the options were. And sentencing will begin in 8 weeks. So taking into account into sentencing, was there remorse? Has any remorse been expressed? Any prior records or convictions or arrests or anything else, what his record was as an officer and as a citizen? All of that will be taken into account along with any other victim or family statements that they want to give, and if Chauvin wants to give a statement in the sentencing as well, which I doubt that he will do. He hasn't said anything up to this point. He pled the
There has been no visible remorse, and I know that people think, I think the first assumption that you make when you look at Derek Chauvin, if you've watched his demeanor throughout the trial, whether you've seen him or you've seen pictures of him, they're all pretty accurate. He's looked shocked or confused, not really aware of what's going on. And honestly, based on just knowing the justice system and how this works, that could have all been an act just to stage a proper appeal. And so a number of things that have happened in this case probably set him up to be, to appeal this conviction. But the interesting thing here is it took them 10 and a half hours, which means that with all of the facts, despite what the defense threw, and really what the defense tried to do in this case is really put George Floyd on trial. That's literally, that was the goal. He had drugs in his system. He had an enlarged heart, but I think the prosecution did an amazing job at really bringing home the facts and the fact that nobody in no situation should ever be in a situation where someone's knee is on their neck for 9 minutes and 29 seconds. It's not acceptable. It can't be acceptable. And what this does for little Black kids that were watching this, little Black boys, little Black girls that were thinking about their dad or their brother or their cousin, is that if this ever, if this had gone the other way, honestly, I think many of us are in shock, because the thought that this could happen to us and nobody would care, or while it has happened in our community over and over and nobody has cared. So I think this is a historical day. I don't think this is a day that we collectively can afford to let up. Tensions are high, and in the same city, 10 miles away from where this trial was happening, Dante Wright was gunned down by Kim Potter just weeks ago.
Right.
And in the same fashion, no remorse, calling it an accident. And, there's strong opposition to Black life in this country, which is why accurate reporting is important. Accurate coverage is important. And I think adequate time, right? There is no other race that has to endure the trauma of watching people that look like them on TV over and over and over, gunned down by what should be peace officers in this country. And we see it, we've seen it over and over and over again. If you're just joining us, we're covering the Derek Chauvin trial, and he's been found guilty of 2 charges of murder, second and third degree murder, and second degree manslaughter in the death of George Floyd.
I really am curious to see what the sentencing will look like. They did request remand after the conviction charges were read. So he was immediately taken into custody. That is usual. That's normally what happens in a murder when it's a nonviolent crime. Sometimes the defendant is permitted to get some affairs in order, ready, go talk to their family, whatever. However, in the situation of violent charges, such as these, especially on murder charges, there normally is a request for remand immediately following the reading of the charges, and then they are immediately taken into custody. So he has been out on bail. That is not what happened. Of course, today his bail was revoked, and he was immediately taken into custody. I do not know that we know where he has been taken into custody yet.
The Hennepin County Justice Center for now.
Thanks. So he will be there until sentencing takes place in 8 weeks. That is about a usual time for sentencing to take place. Of course, that's a little bit, with dealing with COVID and everything else, it's been a very interesting time to have to go through everything. But I'm a bit surprised. I'm definitely surprised that it only took them 10 and a half hours to deliberate. That, of course, all of the reports were saying it's going to take 2 to 3 weeks of deliberation. They're probably going to ask questions. Normally, there are some questions given to the judge on the instructions on the charges and what the potential sentences are for those charges. There were no questions sent back. They did not want to revisit any of the evidence or anything. It was almost as if they went in with a clear cut, ordered lunch, and said, okay, we're done.
Yeah, I believe that they kind of reviewed what they heard, looked at the facts, looked at the charges, and believed. One interesting thing about this is that the defense strategy was also to tell them not to believe their eyes, but more so focus on not the death or the humanity aspect of this case, the death of George Floyd, but how the officer could have been feeling. And that he felt threatened by the crowd that was around. Like, everything that they threw, nothing really stuck. There was not a huge crowd there, right? If 3 officers can't calm down 6 people, right, that are asking you to take your knee off of this man's neck, I really don't even know how this materializes. I'm almost 100% confident that there will be an appeal to this, and that's something that we'll have to follow. But the problem is we're following this over and over and over again. We will be following, developments that are happening in Georgia with Ahmaud Arbery and these vigilantes and the things and the attack against Black life is just still active, right? And so again, we can't stress enough. We will continue to cover it, and the way that we cover it is so important, right? So if you're watching this for the first time and you don't have the Black News Alerts app, visit your app store right now. Download Black News Alerts. We're intent on bringing solid coverage to our community, packaged with only the facts. And the unique thing about that app is that if you see news that we should be covering in our community, you can share that in that app as well. So download that app. It's available in your app store. Our coverage will continue on this. Like I said, emotions are high. It's a national holiday for many. And
in more ways than one.
Oh, well, I don't know that celebration is the right word, but I think
but
joy, being overcome with joy could be a normal emotion right now. Overcome with just emotion. I don't think that, I think I'm still in shock. So I think even the way that I'm processing this right now, everything that I've said to you, I'm saying to myself, like,
I'm with you.
Did this happen in this order? Will this ever happen again? Right. Because we can literally go the last 5 years and count how many times it's happened.
Or beyond that, honestly.
Or how many times that I've sat behind a camera or a mic to report on what's happening in this, affecting our community in such a detrimental way. So our coverage continues. For the best updates, download that Black News Alerts app. And if you like rather listen to it on the radio, download the Boss FM app, and you can find us on the Boss FM Talk, UNR1 News and Talk Radio channel. I was gonna say long day, long week. Last week was a long week, but it's now only Tuesday, and it feels like it's still the same long week. So
yes, agreed. But I'm glad that this happened today. I'm glad to see some form of justice in this case. And as Alex said, we will continue to cover this.
All right. For Black News Alerts, I'm Alex Haynes in New York.
And I'm Tiffanie Lanelle in Atlanta.
Have a good night.
Good night.